in one of my companies, we spent roughly 350K USD within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Just because we were trying to train certain types of models.
Some people say prompt engineering is not the future. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
Prompt engineering is not the future. In most of the lending companies, we would have it in Lagos and environs. Mm-hmm. If you've ever probably gone to ask for a loan or requested a loan somewhere, you've probably been touched by one of my systems. For a lot of people who are crying, AI will replace, AI will take away. This thing we're building, it's supposed to supercharge who you are as a person, what you know how to do, how you know how to do that.
Who is Vangelis Oden?
Just a builder.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Data and AI Gist. My name is Ade-Akanbi, and I am here with an interesting guest. But before we get on ahead, I want to remind us why we do this. We are trying to democratize knowledge, get you in touch with the leaders, the thought leaders, the executives, and the professionals working in the data and AI space in Nigeria and across Africa. Today, our guest is Vangelis Oden, the VP of AI Services at BlueChip Technologies. Welcome, Vangelis, and it's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Philip. My pleasure.
Awesome. Before we get into it, I would like to share with us all that there's a very high chance that you've used a solution, an AI solution that Vangelis has built. There's a very, very high chance if you live in Nigeria. So let the people know, Vangelis. Who is Vangelis Oden?
So the interesting thing, when I was invited for this podcast, I was asked to add everything about myself, and I just wrote just a builder. Well,
true,
and that's who I am. I'm just someone who loves to build. So you can catch me on the road or anywhere, and I'm just interested in how AI solutions can be built, especially within Africa, and how those solutions can scale to the needs of the general public. How can AI get to the hands of the very common man? And that has been my mission. That has been my goal across all of the companies I've worked, across all of the products that I've built. And really, that's me. So awesome. Titles are there, yes, for the sake of titles, but really it's about building for me.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Vangelis is an incredible person, even away from just talking about AI or building AI solutions. And I know this in person. But let's start with something interesting. AI is currently the buzz. Before AI, we were learning about data being the new oil. So putting this together, data being the new oil, AI being the buzz, and this reality we live in today, how would you describe what AI truly is as somebody that actually builds AI products and solutions?
I love to classify and see AI more as an augmentation tool. And so for a lot of people who are crying, AI will replace, AI will take away. I keep trying to help people understand that this thing we're building is really, if you take a minute to look at it, the expectation is it's supposed to supercharge who you are as a person, what you know how to do, how you know how to do that. And really it's a case of bringing in AI to help you do better, get better, be better. And so that's how I love to define artificial intelligence. Yes, there might be some other nefarious purposes that people have defined for this thing, but I love to keep it at its primary functionality, which is an augmentation tool. And once you start to think about it or look at it from that perspective, it then begins to release you from the tension or the focus of trying to either stop it from growing and kind of try to accept it for what it is. And you eventually become an evangelist just by understanding how AI could augment anything you're doing, anywhere you find yourself.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. That would even take me to the next question. Like I shared, during your introduction, as well, that you have built a couple of AI solutions, right? The question I would have for you is the audience, for them to know, what are some real business impacts that you have seen while developing AI and solutions for organizations. What are some of them?
Most of the business scenarios have been business process optimization. So taking an existing business process and figuring out how to supercharge it. I mean, it could be from within the credit risk, trying to ensure you can deliver loans within the shortest possible time, but properly vetted, customer profiles, to figure out who should take a loan or who should not take a loan, or figuring out, collection cycles, when to go, hit a customer up to collect your money, by working out propensity to pay models and stuff like that. Or even, of course, your more popular and recent use cases, the chatbots, where you are now trying to reduce agent centers and bring in more automated conversations for customer service. These are the more, once it comes to business, this is how we have. These are some of the solutions we've been working on the last couple of years. Of course, you would have standalone AI products that sit to do certain things. Like, I mean, your Chat GPT is a standalone tool that sits to allow customers access to information. But of course, it has its own limitations and stuff. But AI products are standalone. Yeah, they will exist, but in most cases, AI would be used for business process optimization, just making things faster, making things better, saving companies money, improving how tasks are done, and ensuring that companies can get more return on investment.
Awesome. That's really incredible, because a lot of times people, when they speak about AI, they feel it's one rubber stamp thing that just comes to provide magic for them, but truly in reality, it has to be layered on top of an existing
identifying the use cases and then figuring out how AI enhances that use case. That's really what it comes down to.
Thank you very much. So let's talk about the people building this AI product from the technical perspective, because a couple of our audiences may be interested in becoming machine learning engineers, AI engineers, AI specialists, and the likes. How technical do you have to be to build AI?
How technical do you have to be to build?
I think it would be a 2-in-1. How technical do you have to be to build and use?
Good. I was going to split it that way. So, to use, I always liken it to being a driver, right? You can go out there to any driving school. Matter of fact, you can watch a few YouTube videos and go pick up a car and start driving. But because you can drive a car doesn't necessarily mean you know how a car functions. What the alternator is, what the components that move a car. You just know how to step on the accelerator, the brake, change the gears, and steer the car. And so at the end of the day, depending on how dedicated you are to driving, you can end up being a pretty solid driver, but still not really understand the mechanics of a car.
True.
But would it be better if you actually also, while being a pretty solid driver, understand the mechanics of the car, such that if the car breaks down at any point, you will be able to understand and figure out, this is what's wrong and this is how I can fix it. Right? So I think it boils down to different abstraction layers that anyone would want to dwell on, but for the use guys, it's more being able to take what exists, tools that have already been created, solutions that have already been created, and use that to supercharge the solutions that you would be building. I mean, we have use cases of people who have taken existing OpenAI APIs and built their own products that have made millions right in the market. And then there are people who slave day in, day out on the back end trying to build those models for other people to use. If you have to build it, there's a lot of technicalities involved. There are the components of programming. There are the components of mathematics and statistics of models. There are the components of data and data engineering. There are the components of infrastructure and serving platforms that would even build the sit to house the training processes for these models. And that's a lot of technical side of things, right? It's really technical. Then, but when it comes to the non-technical side of things, it's really just about implementing what already exists using an API, or if you say still part of the building part, still part of the builders, but not really not a builder. Where you would then say the product managers
based on what already exists.
Yes. You then have the product managers, people who define what kind of products customers would want to see and how exactly the AI rubs off within each of those products.
Awesome. Thank you for that. While we're still talking about the people, you lead a team. You lead several teams, in fact. What are some of the things you look at before you employ an analytics professional or an AI professional? That's
one of the very interesting bits I've been even self-reflecting on the last couple of months. Everything is online now. A simple prompt can get ChatGPT or Claude to give you any result.
Absolutely.
So the more information becomes easy to access, the harder it will be for more personal-based solutions or results to come through from potential candidates or potential people that you're looking to hire. One of the things I look out for, or what I primarily look out for when I'm trying to hire, is originality of thought.
Awesome.
How are you able to take a given problem? And so in many cases, I would throw questions around a wide spectrum of problems and just try to figure out how are you able to think through solving the problem. Because the way the AI systems are being built out now, in the nearest future, most everybody will become an architect of solutions. But to architect solutions, you need to be able to conceptualize those solutions. How do you think about the problem? How do you think about the solution? And some people would always very quickly rush to try to type code, and I would be like, no, slow down. Take your time.
What's the thought?
Pseudocode it. What's the thought process? Give me a lay down of processes that would lead to solving this thing. And then we can go from there. That helps me know that you have originality of thought. You are closer to being a mechanic than just a driver. And then I know if I pay maybe a $20 Claude subscription for you in a month, you would be a superstar because now you have access to a tool that can supercharge your ability to think.
Existence.
Exactly. So I look out for originality of thought, ability to think about a process end to end, irrespective of if you can solve the problem on the spot, as long as you can think it end to end, how it should work, how it should play out, then I'm always very interested in people like that.
All right. Thank you. So let's get into something more out of scope, I would say. Let's talk about the industry of AI.
Sure.
In Africa, where would you place Africa in comparison to the rest of the world?
Africa is way behind. We'll just put it at that. We're way behind, and for several factors. One, we are focused on, we're still very focused on importing solutions.
Yeah.
And that's because we still are upcoming with data mining and data mapping processes that allow us have very good and clean data.
Yeah.
The people developing these systems outside the country, that's in the US and Europe, are not particularly interested in Africa, developing it for Africa.
Oh yeah.
So Africa has to develop it for itself.
Yes.
Yeah. So one, we're still behind with data mapping, data mining, and ensuring that we have quality data to train these models. That's one. Two, infrastructure. Africa still suffers from terrible infrastructure, especially electricity to power very serious GPUs.
Yeah.
We all know that if you are going to train a large language model, months on end, you need serious infrastructure of power as well as the compute to do that work.
Yeah.
First, we don't have the power like we should.
Yeah.
But then secondly, compute is a miss. It's been difficult to get compute into Nigeria. I mean, and even for some of the use cases we're trying to build at our company, it's been tough.
Wow.
It's been tough. Importing a single GPU into this country, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare.
Wow.
The bottlenecks are humongous. And so if we cannot clear those bottlenecks and figure out ways of actually building this infrastructure internally, or at least having the supply chain that brings it in for what we need to build out, we're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We'll keep either depending on the countries that already have this thing set up, or companies that already have this thing set up outside, and that will come at huge costs to us. I know in one of my companies we spent roughly 350K USD within a couple of weeks, just because we were trying to train certain types of models, and it was just not sustainable. Right? But if we were able to get our own clusters, get them set up within and scale from that, it would have made a lot more sense for us. Yeah.
And I think that makes that's to put into perspective, because when you look at even OpenAI, when they announce, or you see the news around that says they spend billions, on a month-to-month basis, building, training these models, and if Africa wants to also play in that space,
you have to play with the big. If you have to play you have to come fully kitted.
The national AI strategy was signed into, it was released. There was an initial release a couple of years back, but it was fully released August last year. In 2024. But what, from your own expertise and experience, how does that come into play with our experience or our reality today with AI solutions?
I mean, strategies are one thing. I've worked on strategies for a couple of companies, and you get all these nice and fancy conversations around, oh, we want AI, we want to push AI.
Oh, yeah.
Implementation is another thing, right? And so if you don't have, like I mentioned, the infrastructure to actually do the implementation and scale, then you're not going anywhere. All it would be strategy and strategy discussions about strategy. It will never amount to anything really tangible. Secondly is the types of use cases and projects that are relevant to us as a people.
Yeah.
Are those captured within what's expected to be the strategy? Now, if that is not the case, then we'll keep probably chasing a race that we've already lost.
Wow.
So if Nigeria, this is just as an example, if we're chasing maybe building LLMs and the US and Europe have already figured out that technology, then
even China,
why are we trying to is it just to say we've also run, or is there something more within trying to build LLMs that we're trying to get out of, right? Yes, you'll see some people building certain use cases around ensuring that these LLMs can understand our languages, the context of who we are as a people and stuff. And that's where it becomes a little bit complex, because Africa is diverse, diverse.
Yeah.
So
in Nigeria alone,
is very diverse. So bringing all that diversity into large language models.
Oh yeah.
The question will now be, for what aim? What's the aim? What's really the aim? What are we trying to achieve? Right. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's wrong to chase it, but really, what are we trying to achieve? If those use cases are not put front and center, and then we chase these goals with an aim of actually meeting the people with these AI solutions, then we'll keep beating around the bush, but never really arriving at an impact that the AI strategy is expected to help achieve.
Interesting. Thank you. And that's quite a perspective, because usually when people talk about AI and the possibilities around it, it almost feels like a dream, usually, even to me, when I listen to people. You know, we have people speaking to us, can we do this? Can we do that? Can we build this with AI and LLMs? And because majorly the ChatGPT has come to like really bust the scenes, or should I say, really change the scope and conversations. And we're discussing earlier as well that regarding to AI, with regards to AI rather, in Nigeria, we went from a point where many people were not interested in AI or even analytics as a whole. Then they became overly interested just because that's the buzz now. There was the time blockchain was the buzz, then it's currently AI, and that's what everybody's talking about. So everybody wants to also bring that into their existing processes without putting certain things in place. So there's that knowledge gap, right? And also that is one of the reasons we do this.
There's the knowledge gap, there's the people gap. You don't really have people who understand the fundamentals of data science and so can navigate the AI world. We have more people that are trying to pick up the new tools that exist and just try to implement or add them into something.
And there's so many like that, truly. I've been involved in a lot of conversations in and out of Nigeria, and there's always that difference. You see people trying to build AI-powered products. They say it's an AI product that was trained on data and the likes, but you realize that it's an AI-powered product, right? They're bringing that capability into their product. And it becomes interesting when you see that there's a problem with the product, but they even themselves don't know how to figure it out. Just like you said, right? The driver and the mechanic
is just the driver.
So let me ask you. Some people say prompt engineering is not the future. Like, let's get into some generative AI conversations here. So do you agree, first off? And if you do, what then is the future of our interaction with AI systems?
Yeah, absolutely. Prompt engineering is not the future. I can state that for a fact. Prompt engineering is not the future. Why? As far back as 2022, when many of these models were, or at least the first
ChatGPT was, GPT-3.
We had people starting to do research, thinking this was the future, and they needed to figure out how to prompt.
How to ask
questions. I was at an event on Thursday last week, and I needed to create something for a demonstration that was to happen on Friday. And I really didn't know what to create. So, while at the event, an idea just came to me, and I, wrote down a few points about what I wanted to see. Nothing technical. Anybody really could. I mean, it was just born out of, this is what I want the functionalities I want to see. And I put that on Cursor, and it gave me a full application, back and front end, that I was able to use for my demonstration, completely working.
Awesome.
Now, I didn't need to yes, I've had experience prompting these things, but comparing what happened to where I was some 2-3 years ago, when these things came out and we were trying to test them, the level of prompting has drastically reduced. To the point that right now, as it stands, all you probably need is to define what needs to happen, the interactions that you want to see, and then ask a large language model to create a prompt that's going to do the work. Right.
Oh yeah.
So if that is the capability of the existing models, and we still have a very long way to go in models' abilities, at some point it will be one word, app, this, and then he will just go ahead and generate the whole thing.
Yeah.
So the role of the prompt engineer was a very short-lived
Oh yeah, I remember then on
one.
Twitter, X now, right? And people were discussing and talking about how you have to become a prompt engineer. You know, it's a role that is paying $350K per year and a couple of things like that. And all of a sudden, it was crickets.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I think more the roles that will be born out will. It's not necessarily going to be a role, but it's going to be more or less like the capability to architect. Everybody will become an architect. The person who is doing image editing images will be an architect. He will be able to just define what he wants to see, how he wants to see it, and the systems will be smart enough to take the way he wants to see it and figure it out. Right. So it will not be more or less prompt engineering as we know it, where someone is just skilled in trying to figure out how to tell the model what to do, but really everyone having that, it will be like a computer. Everybody has access to a computer. What you use it to do differs. So people will just now be able to take these systems and say, okay, give me this, that, and it spits it out without necessarily having to be a professional prompt engineer.
I think the future is really going to be interesting, especially with the possibilities that would come out. But speaking of possibilities, as the VP of AI at BlueChip Technologies, what are some impacts, I would say, how would you rate the growth of AI solutions in Nigeria and Africa? Not the impact, the growth.
I would say the growth is still very minimal, like I explained earlier. Companies are still trying to figure out benefit of this thing, a return on investment. And in many cases, because we're going through a lot of economic situations within Africa, a lot of management staff or people in management C-level are wanting to either go the brick and mortar way of doing business, where it's what I know. It's the business school I went to. This is the knowledge I have on this thing. So I will keep trying to go down to the fundamentals. And because of that, you would have very little inroads with AI. Everybody is talking about it. Everybody feels like, they want to have it, but very few people understand its impact and the potential benefits that it could give any company. And like I mentioned as well from when we started, from an optimization perspective, most things are about optimizations. And in many cases, because there's still limited knowledge, people still have that understanding or feeling that if you optimize too much, then you have to throw away people from the business, right? And I mean, who knows whose job will be affected by the optimization.
And that's where the conversation of will I take my job comes in.
Exactly. So you have people still trying to block in some cases, still trying to block some of these implementations. But of course, once you can go past that hurdle, the other hurdles around data availability, access, quality, and then use cases and the benefit for the use cases, as well as then the skill sets that will maintain the solutions once they build and maintain the solutions. So even though we are now building the capabilities, like we're building the capabilities, the engineers that will be able to handle multivariate solutions, multiple types of solutions. The question still is, after we've built, who then continues maintaining the solutions,
and that's
wherever
really
we've built it? That's really
because organizations, they bring in the consultants to build, but who maintains afterwards? I think a follow-up question would then be around the concept of the predictive AI and the generative AI. Which ones have you seen, factoring the recent interest in generative AI, which one have you seen to give more impact, to business solutions, like you mentioned?
It's quite subjective.
Yes, absolutely.
But predictive use cases are more niche and tailored to specific industries, specific companies and their needs. Whereas generative AI solutions are more, would I say, open and available out there. So in our scoping of most of the industries, companies that we've worked with, it's been a case of them wanting more predictive use cases because it allows them tailored to the use case, predictive models rather. So because it allows them tailored to the use cases, tailored to the data available, and the solutions are kind of sit isolated, which can be a good thing. But of course, everybody across board right now is trying to talk about generative AI and see how it can benefit them, from sales to credit to, and it's a good thing. So we're getting a lot of calls from generative AI use cases, but within, we still have a lot more use cases for predictive AI. I'd say the predictive AI use cases are still very much in play.
Right. That's very good to know. I think I will just follow up with that and ask about data itself, right? We discussed it earlier as well. And when it comes to AI, you are almost useless without data, right? Meaning that you can't really do so much with data, with AI, if you don't have the data. So in Nigeria, with your expertise and experience building solutions in the industry and in the country as well, where do you think, or what advices do you have? Because we know there's a problem of data, right? So what advices would you suggest can help to close this gap a bit?
The first thing is really, so I see this common problem when companies are trying to get set up. Okay, so I'll split it: startups and legacy companies.
That's a good
startup companies, they are trying to get set up and they're hiring software engineers, product people, and all that, and they always leave out data engineers.
True.
And I'm like,
true. It's always like an add-on.
It's almost like an add-on. This should be some of your first hires, the people who will map and architect what your data layer will look like. Right? It goes beyond just setting up a database. It goes beyond setting up schemas for your database and goes deeper to the quality of the type of data that's sitting in those databases, or data layers. And then, so you move away from the startups and you go to the legacy guys, and many of them had some very strong data practices, but the data practices were focused on just collecting data. They weren't focused on quality data,
which is the management,
which is ensuring that every single data that I'm collecting is qualified for a use case in the future. And even if there's no use case present right now, there's a landscape I can look at and say, okay, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, I will requalify this data. So I have to make it available in a form that will make it easier for me 5 years from now to use for whatever new use cases I might identify. And so that's the headache. You now have companies with 60 million touch points plus who don't really know what to do with the data because it's not quality data. It's just
not so much inference can be.
Not much inference can be made. You can't really build a lot of solutions. And even if you build any solution on that data, you will need a couple of months to years, especially with the shaking economy, to really get benefit out of the models that will be built there.
Those
two layers. If we can fix for startups, the understanding that your data guys should be some of the first people you hire in to ensure that everything that you will build 1 year from now is qualified already, not at 1 year time you're trying to figure it out.
Plug the gap.
Right? Then you've plugged it from the very beginning. Then you'll be in a very good position. And we've done some of this work across helping some companies ensure that at the very start, they have what is good data. So if they have to build a machine learning model 2 years in the future, it's always just going to be good data running through the
That's really
system.
impressive. Yeah. Thank you. We are still on the Data and AI Gist, and I'm still here with Vangelis Oden, the VP of AI Services at BlueChip Technologies. There's a question we ask our guests, Vangelis, to help people understand, your story as well, or people's stories. Yes, because it's very good to know so people can relate as well, to see that, we actually all learned a couple of all these things and we dedicated ourselves and time to this craft. So what would you say is the most impressive thing that you have done or you achieved early in your career that sort of set the tone for your career to even lead you to the position you are today?
Yes. That's a very good question and a nostalgic one as well.
Oh yeah.
So starting earlier on in my career, there were these problems we had. My career started in finance.
Oh
so there were these problems we had.
Can you see?
There were these problems we had where we always wanted to understand a customer walking in to take a loan. Who is that customer and how can we identify or qualify that customer such that we could understand what to give the customer as a loan and for how long to give the customer without burdening the customer. And so in May, we started thinking around a lot of features that could help us identify this from a manual perspective, that's just hard coding rules, as well as from a machine learning perspective way back then. But we were constrained with the technology, with even our thinking process of how we would work this thing out, as well as business. And this went on for about 2 years, 3 years until one of the fintech CEOs, I wish I could mention her name, gave me a chance at things and just threw a product at me and said, build me this product.
Wow.
And
this was as far back as when?
This was 2018, 2019.
Wow.
And she just said, build me this product and let's be able to properly break down a customer's financial capability.
Oh yeah.
And so it took me on a journey of roughly about 6 months first, trying to conceptualize everything into a product before then putting something out into the market that served as a useful bank statement analysis tool.
Yeah.
And so with that we were able to mine way over 50 variables out of a bank statement.
Awesome.
One bank statement we could mine up to 50.
That's quite a lot.
Yeah. And the idea was doing it within microseconds, automated processes that could do all of that so that you reduce the amount of time it takes to issue a loan from the normal number of days to a matter of seconds. All of that data information is available for you as long as the bank statements are available. And so I feel like that solution was one of the things that skyrocketed, propelled my career. A lot of people now wanted something close to that, similar. And even I think last year I received a message from one of the popular fintech companies again asking me to come build that same solution again. I laughed and I was like, I'm way out of there now, right? Even though yes, it's still part of something. One of the things I'm looking at right now, a different way of identifying customer financial capabilities, looking at the Nigeria landscape now and the economic situation of the country, figuring it out another way, still using AI of doing that. I will hopefully be releasing some products very soon, but yes.
Awesome. We can't wait to say. Right. That's
okay. Pretty, so in most of the lending companies, we would have it in Lagos and environs. You would have touched, if you've ever probably gone to ask for a loan or requested a loan somewhere, you've probably been touched by one of my systems.
Like I said, if you live in Lagos, there's a very high chance that you've used a solution that Vangelis built. So that would bring me to ask about the company as well. really does BlueChip Technologies do?
Yeah. BlueChip Technologies is a consulting company. They've established their presence in data and infrastructure for the last 15 years, thereabout, making a name as well as cash for themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And over the last couple of years, we've been trying to leverage. So the primary from the co-founders of the company, Kazim Tawabadi and Olumide Sholomo, their primary goal was really data and ensuring that wherever there's a blue chip footprint, the data is as clean as possible for all things analytics use cases. And so they've been doing that for 15 years plus and are in most of the banks in Nigeria as well as other industries. And because there is already that existing relationship and there's an inroad, and we've been able to qualify a lot of banks' data, a lot of people's data, we then decided, okay, let's add on AI use cases and start building this for these people who already have cleaned data based on the processes they've worked on. So we now do consulting. We do consulting on machine learning solutions for our customers, as well as internally we're building some bespoke applications for pure AI driven food that will be able to push out to users in the field.
That's really incredible. I know you watching me likely know BlueChip Technologies. You may have heard about them as well. They are the Odogus when it comes to data and AI in Nigeria. Thank you very much, Vangelis. It was a very big pleasure having you on this podcast.
Pleasure,
and the incredible ideas and thoughts you shared with us is really helpful, and I'm sure the audience would be able to testify to that as well. And to you also, thank you for listening to this episode of the Data and AI Gist podcast. If you would like to continue to watch this, please like, share, and follow on the channels we'll be deploying this to. If you also want to see a speaker on any of these episodes, please make recommendations and we'll be able to bring them on board as well. We're looking to democratize knowledge in data and AI, and this is just us doing the best for the industry as well. So until next time, keep questioning and keep being curious and keep building solutions as best as you can. Thank you very much, and see you again next time.